So Luch says to me, it's like, Deckard, you ever seen a swamp beaver? I said, what? A swamp beaver? He's like, yeah. You ever seen one? And I think this is what he's talking about. You see this? This whole area is a swamp beaver. I think, see those giant trees there? Or that one, plus the log? See how clean those cuts are? And then, probably from that, it gets up there pretty high. And then it goes all the way down to this. Yeah. Classic swamp beaver. He said he saw a swamp beaver. And now I remember him saying it. Yeah, I think that's what he's talking about. The thing with swamp beavers, I guess he says, is their teeth are so pointy that they use them to stick to like hang off of trees when they're cutting them down. Right, because they cut them down from high up, not from at the ground like a regular beaver. And it's because they use their teeth, which are really sharp, and they can like fling them up and they stick them into the tree trunk, like, I don't know, what was that, like 10 or 12 feet up, sometimes higher. Look at those. Those are swamp beaver cuts. That's like 30 feet up. So they scramble up because they're very discerning beavers, right? Swamp beavers are way more discerning than a regular beaver. They're a little bit smaller, and they got those super pointy teeth, and they go up and they use those teeth to lodge themselves in their body into the trunk while they use their hands, like they use on their claws, whatever, which are very precise, and they can just cut a limb, like a thick limb off of a tree, like 30 feet up instead of the whole tree. They don't need the whole tree. Swamp beavers are much more ecologically friendly than regular beavers. They only cut what they need, and they go looking for what they need up high. Like there's another one right there. Yeah, they're everywhere. Once you start knowing where to look, you see swamp beavers everywhere. Or you don't actually. Here's the thing, I've never seen one. I don't know if anybody's ever seen one. But the evidence of them is everywhere when you start to know what to look for. Like, look at this giant water, like swamp beaver swamp. Like, they call them swamp beavers because they end up making swamps. Not because they're from the swamp. They make swamps with their discerning precision cuts on these very particular limbs. It's like they're the Freemasons of beavers. You know how, like, olden times they made buildings out of bricks and blocks, and they didn't use like mortar. They just like made them perfect puzzle pieces, so they slipped in with each other. Whatever that is, that's what swamp beavers do with logs that they cut. I mean, as much as they can, but they got to be watertight, right? Like, maybe that's not airtight, but it's pretty good. And yeah, and then they cause all these swamps to happen. That's what the Luch says. I mean, look at all those cuts. Some of them are low. Like, sometimes they need the whole thing. When they get started, they do need. But what they'll do is I'll show you. I showed you before. What they do is they take the whole tree down, like they did there and there, right? But then they'll also cut branches, like limbs, from the tree that's already on the ground, like that there. See that darker log? And there's some underwater there. And he's still using them, so I'm probably interrupting him. I probably should get, like, there's some work in progress over there, giant one. Maybe multiple beavers. Could be more than one swamp beaver. It is a pretty big area, come to think of it. I'll have to ask Luch. But I bet it's a whole family of swamp beavers. Maybe they're training, like mama beavers training the little ones, like on how to use their skill set over there. Because I don't know, is there water over there? Maybe. Yeah. Swamp beavers. they're a thing. They're 100% a thing. Yeah, there's another cut out there. Pretty good. They're good for nature, unlike regular beavers. I mean, I don't know what regular beavers are. Here they can be damaging for things. Swamp beavers are good because they're very precise. And they got to live too, right? They got to live too, so they have a right to do what they got to do. Like, look at that wall that he built. See that wall of trunks there? That one's still a work in practice there. But look, he's working it all along here. Probably a mama, actually. Let's look and see how it ends right here. Like this whole tangle is a different, it's a different family. Because see, it starts back again over here. There's at least two different swamp beaver families. And they're very friendly with each other. So it's not like regular beavers where like they turn into like wolverines if you start getting near them. Nah, swamp beavers are like, they're like kitty cats. And there's no reason to harm a swamp beaver. And their teeth that go into they go down, so they're not going to cut you. You can pick them up and hold them like a cat. Their knives that they have on their claws, they won't cut you either. And yeah. And it's good for like fire prevention, right? Like forest fires. Because they cut down trees, parts of trees, the most burning parts of a tree, I think. That's one of the benefits. They cut down the ones that are the most burning. But they also, because they make swamps, it's a natural fire break that they make. So it's a double-edged win. Yeah. And they don't get like wolverines when you get near them. Yeah, what's not to love about a swamp beaver? Nothing. There's nothing not to love. I mean, there's one thing, I guess. See, look at that giant swamp beaver went and just tracked all that grass down. Or maybe maybe not a giant one, but like a herd of them, maybe like a herd. More likely a herd. Kind of trampled through here and is starting a whole new colony of swamp beavers. I don't know. Swamp beavers are a mystery. But they're very ugly. That's what I've heard. So, maybe that's why you don't pick them up, mostly because they're ugly, but they're not dangerous. They don't scare you with their ugliness. It's just, they're ugly enough that you see one that you don't want to pick it up. That's all. That's their main defense mechanism, I think, they can use their teeth and claws if they need to fight like a wolverine or a regular beaver on the prowl. But they don't fight amongst themselves. Yeah, some animals, they can just scare them off with their looks, like deers and non-predators. So they do keep to themselves a lot. It's probably why no one's ever seen one. But they're out there, as I showed you. All right. Later, YouTube. That's a sure sign of a swamp beaver. So, still haven't seen one. There's a lot of sticks on the ground. There's been some heavy swamp beaver traffic through here, I think. Sometimes, like, swamp beavers are generally, they're not violent, but they make a mess sometimes, I guess. I don't know why they got to tramp through. And this trail was clean on Monday when I was out. I was out here Tuesday, actually. And I didn't see all these sticks. Look at that mess. Look at that. That's all good for the environment. It's all roughage for like the ingredients, when it breaks down into the soil and stuff. But like it sure is ugly. Anyhow. And I think swamp beavers, sometimes they get a little moody, maybe, when they make their swamp dams. Like that. There you go. That right there, that's a swamp beaver cut right off there. They climb up there, jab their sharp teeth into the trunk above, and they use their super sharp claws to cut super fine cuts like that. And they toss that upper log off and unpluck their teeth from it, and then there they go. So they're very particular. They don't waste a whole tree. They'll go up, they'll climb the tree and just get like one branch, keeping everything alive and safe, you know, unlike a regular beaver. But they do get moody, and they do make a mess, but it's actually good for the environment. That's interesting. They must have trampled through here while they were migrating, maybe yesterday. Once in a while you see some beaver tusk holes with their teeth. Like it's kind of like a woodpecker, but they didn't get finished.